Still paying fees to trade TH?
But I want you to understand, and everyone should know, that Iran poses a very grave threat to the United States and has for a very long time. They are in possession, first and foremost, after their nuclear program was obliterated, they were told not to try to restart it, and here they are. You can see them always trying to rebuild elements of it. They're not enriching right now, but they're trying to get to the point where they ultimately can. The other thing I would point you to, however, is that Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles, particularly short-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States and our bases in the region and our partners in the region. And all of our bases in the UAE, in Qatar, in Bahrain. And they also possess naval assets that threaten shipping and try to threaten the U.S. Navy. So I want everybody to understand that beyond just the nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons that are solely designed to attack America and attack Americans if they so choose to do so. These things have to be addressed. The negotiations tomorrow and the talks tomorrow will be largely focused on the nuclear program. And we hope progress can be made, because that's the president's preference, to make progress on the diplomatic front. But it's also important to remember that Iran refuses to talk about the ballistic missiles, to us or to anyone. And that's a big problem. I don't know if Thursday's the key date for that. I think progress needs to be made. It would be good if progress was made on Thursday. And I would say that the Iranian insistence on not discussing ballistic missiles is a big, big problem. I'll leave it at that. Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles, particularly short-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States and our bases in the region and our partners in the region. And all of our bases in the UAE, in Qatar, in Bahrain. And they also possess naval assets that threaten shipping and try to threaten the U.S. Navy. So I want everybody to understand that beyond just the nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons that are solely designed to attack America and attack Americans if they so choose to do so. These things have to be addressed. The negotiations tomorrow and the talks tomorrow will be largely focused on the nuclear program. And we hope progress can be made, because that's the president's preference, to make progress on the diplomatic front. But it's also important to remember that Iran refuses to talk about the ballistic missiles, to us or to anyone. And that's a big problem. Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles, particularly short-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States and our bases in the region and our partners in the region. So I want everybody to understand that beyond just the nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons that are solely designed to attack America and attack Americans if they so choose to do so. These things have to be addressed. The negotiations tomorrow and the talks tomorrow will be largely focused on the nuclear program. And we hope progress can be made, because that's the president's preference, to make progress on the diplomatic front. But it's also important to remember that Iran refuses to talk about the ballistic missiles, to us or to anyone. And that's a big problem.
Iran is nearing a deal to buy supersonic anti-ship missiles from China, meant to stop or sink U.S. aircraft carriers. These are not hypersonic missiles, which are faster, they are supersonic. So it goes about Mach 2.5 to Mach 3. The Chinese-made CM-302 has a range of about 300 kilometers and about 250 to 500 kilogram payload. So yeah, they could definitely put a hole in one of our bad boys. But here's why I'm not too worried about it. For one, even though the Chinese have marketed this missile since 2016 as a carrier killer, and it has a very impressive list of stats, they say it has a 90% target strike probability. The only problem with that little claim is it's only been fired within China. No other country has used it. No other country has witnessed the deploying of these missiles. So this 90% target strike probability is probably fake. That kind of reminds me of China's 6th generation fighter jet, which is supposed to leave anything that America has years behind, even though there's no outside independent confirmation that it's actually true. Or China's new nuclear submarine that was supposed to blow anything the US had out of the water, and then it just sank at dock back in 2024. Now, I'm not saying the Chinese CM-302 can't damage an aircraft carrier. I just don't trust that 90% accuracy figure, especially against a ship that is moving at full speed, like 30 to 35 knots. Then there's the fact that carrier strike groups provide several layers of defense for the actual carrier, and then the carrier itself is very, very hard to sink just because its hulls are so thick and compartmentalized. And I would very much like to know how the Chinese know that their CM-302 is a carrier killer if they've never used it against an American aircraft carrier. What carriers did China test these missiles on to give it that name? But even if all of China's claims about that missile are true, they are putting this missile in the hands of Iran, a country that had to actually lie about shooting down F-35 fighter jets during the 12-day war. And they ended up admitting that they lied. Iran is a country that is still struggling on knowing how to operate its own air defense systems towards its own planes. And that was pretty old technology. I'm wondering how effectively the Iranian military could use something as modern as the Chinese CM-302. But I'm not really sure what threat the carrier killer missiles are going to be to the US naval assets currently in the Middle East, because the missiles aren't even in Iran yet. They haven't even finished the deal. Right now, the biggest threat to the US carrier strike groups in the Middle East is their sewage problem. Thanks for watching.
Iran's currency has lost 98% of its value in the last 10 years. In 2015, one US dollar bought roughly 32,000 Iranian rials. But as of February 2026, that same dollar buys about 1.6 million rials on the street, giving Iran the fourth highest rate of inflation in the world. But what impact will this actually have on Iran? The reality is that Iran has entered an economic death spiral. A currency's value ultimately rests on confidence, and when citizens, businesses, and foreign partners lose faith that a government can manage its economy, they convert local currency into something safer, like gold or foreign currency. And this creates a vicious self-reinforcing cycle where the currency drops, which makes imports more expensive, which pushes inflation higher, which further erodes confidence and causes more people to dump the currency, dropping it even further. For Iran, sanctions are the foundational driver of this, forcing them to export oil to countries like China at giant discounts. And global oil prices have also declined dramatically in the last few years, and they're currently less than half of what Iran would need just to balance its budget without sanctions. Meanwhile, Iran's conflict with Israel in June 2025 accelerated the collapse. U.S. and Israeli airstrikes inflicted serious damage on Iranian nuclear facilities and military bases and infrastructure, and defense spending surged by 145% in the aftermath, further straining the budget alongside additional sanctions. So how has this affected the people of Iran? The human cost has been massive. Average monthly wages for Iranian workers now equal about $125 at the market exchange rate, when the estimated minimum a family of four needs to survive is about $450 per month. Food prices have skyrocketed, and as of 2024, 57% of Iranians experience some level of food insecurity. The country lacks essential medicine like insulin and chemotherapy drugs, and housing prices in Tehran increased 1,700% between 2019 and 2024. With the rial in free fall, Iranians have turned to US dollars and gold and cryptocurrency for stability. And amid all of this, the academics and capable professionals who could solve this often emigrate to other countries. The consequence of all of this has been mass protests across Iran, and the Iranian government has responded with extreme force, causing thousands of casualties and initiating communications blackouts. In February 2026, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian apologized to the country and acknowledged domestic governance failures as the source of their problems, rather than solely blaming sanctions. But Ayatollah Khamenei took an entirely different posture.
I think it's imminent. I mean, it's a matter.
American generals are begging Trump to not attack Iran, claiming that we are not ready and we will lose. General Kane, Trump's leading general.
Iran has defied Donald Trump's threat of war, vowing a ferocious response to any attack, no matter how limited. It comes after Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei mocked the US president, vowing to give the American military a slap so hard it could not stand up. And Tehran isn't just talking the talk. It is thought to have moved missile launchers within range of American military bases so it can strike back immediately if or when a war begins. Ballistic missiles have been positioned along Iran's southern coast.
Iran did not hold back when it came to its response to President Trump's State of the Union speech, accusing him of repeating big lies when it came to Iran's nuclear and missile program, also when it came to the number of anti-regime protesters killed by security forces last month, even at one point referring and comparing it to Nazi propaganda. Now,
No, a U.S. president can't formally declare.
If the U.S. goes to war with Iran,
Well, they don't need to.
How close?
If Iran
How does a smaller
Have you seen this?
breaking news,
America now has
breaking news,
Trump just mentioned Iran in his
President Donald.
here's a look inside Iran.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will.
Dino, why is the United States sending like more boats, aircraft carriers and stuff to Iran?
So why did it come back? That's what I asked before. So in my view, what I thought was after those airstrikes last year, we're done with Iran, man. You blew their nuclear facilities up and all that. Apparently I was wrong. It's not settled yet. Iran, it's the same old story again. It's the nuclear capability and trying to de-arm themselves and not have the ability to make nuclear weapons, right? It's the nuclear thing all over again. And apparently Iran still has the capability. So after those airstrikes and after us decimating their air defenses, all that, they still have this problem with Iran. And of course, they started negotiations again that's been going on forever, right? And they're not playing ball, obviously. So now we're sending another carrier battle group over there as a show force, right? What's the likelihood that we're going to attack? I don't think we are. But now there's two big carrier battle groups in the region.
Wow.
So which means that he's really amping up like, hey, don't fuck around and find out. I got two carrier battle groups there.
President Trump is reportedly frustrated as he weighs what to do on Iran. And there are three new developments happening that are turning up the heat. First, there is U.S. military force projection. And the Navy's most advanced aircraft carrier, this is the USS Gerald R. Ford, has now been seen in Greece at Suda Bay.
That's why in a breakthrough operation.
24-hour warning.
There are 40,000 American personnel in the Middle East right now. In Iran's letter to the UN Security.
While the world has been focused on the massive U.S. military buildup of the.
Remember that Iran was
Reports indicate. You want to see what is.
So I'm not concerned about war. What I'm concerned of is miscalculations. And I think President Trump is wise enough to make the correct decision.
How can a meaningful negotiations process be jump-started right now?
We have lost our trust to the United States.
ما نیز در مقابل این مشکلات سرخم نخواهیم کرد.
Politicians are, first of all, it's likely that the U.S.
El mensaje es que no es imposible.
The Fordo nuclear facility had one big weakness. It's
Operation Midnight. What is it really like to General Dan?
Free announcements, as you know, he is sending two of his best negotiators to Geneva tomorrow in order to continue to try to strike the best deal possible for the American people. But the principle is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they try to rebuild a nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us. And in fact, we've seen evidence that they have tried to do exactly that. So the president sending those negotiators to try to address that problem, as the president has said repeatedly, he wants to address that problem.
Do you support taking military action against?
I think
China is laughing.
The United States can attack Iran in 3 different...
Why shouldn't Iran have nuclear weapons? Plenty of countries have nuclear weapons.
They do, and some are declared and some are undeclared. I think Dan hit the nail on the head earlier. The ability to possess even a crude nuclear device ensures regime integrity. Pakistan has it. We know Israel has it. We know India has it. And you think about this issue of mutually assured destruction. If you attack me and
threaten the existence of our government or our state system, we have
I think we're coming pretty close to the preferred
Big news from Iran. Iran just announced it wants to join the new defense pact between Pakistan and Saudi. If one country is attacked, both will respond together. But here's the twist. Saudi's fighter jets and defense systems come from the US, and America controls them. Pakistan, on the other hand, has its own China.
Given Iran a final warning. After this, Iran's map could completely change. Yes, Trump has issued Iran a strict 10-day ultimatum. Make a deal or prepare for a major operation. And this
Still
ហើយខ្ញុំក៏ឃើញតាមបណ្ដាញសង្គម Facebook ហ្នឹងគឺមានសកម្មជនគណៈបកប្រឆាំង
deal គេថាអត់មានចកេះអត់មានរៀងអត់មានរើដូច
This fruit in my hand right here is extremely rare.
This man once fought for the Russian army. American
ហើយដូចតំណប់នេះបានណា
អស់អំណាចនុយក្លេអ៊ែរមួយនៅអាស៊ីគ្រាន់តែមិនទាន់ដំឡើងចំពេលដែលស្ថានភាពនៅតែតានតឹងជាបន្តបន្ទាប់ដោយមន្ត្រីជាន់ខ្ពស់ផ្នែកសន្តិសុខម្នាក់ជប៉ុនបានប្រកាសថាជប៉ុនគួរតែមានអាវុធនុយក្លេអ៊ែរដោយខ្លួនឯងរឿងរ៉ាវ
This is a big update on Iran. The White House says 800 executions were set to take place yesterday in Iran and were halted after warnings from President Trump. We also know this morning Iran reopened its airspace after closing it overnight. A number of other updates for you. The internet blackout in Iran remains. There are reports of limited demonstrations in some areas, but not.
Mấy vệ sĩ Vương Calisthenics nhìn cho kỹ nè.
The widespread protest.
Iran has defied Donald Trump's threat of war, vowing a ferocious response to any attack, no matter how limited. It comes after Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei mocked the US president, vowing to give the American military a slap so hard it could not stand up. And Tehran isn't just talking the talk.
Why has Pakistan bombed Afghanistan? Pakistan says it was targeting terrorists. The Taliban in Afghanistan say that women and children, civilians, were killed in the bombardment. It's no secret that for years, Pakistan funded, supported and harbored the Afghan Taliban. Remember this interview?
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
So that's your argument that even though
that was a mistake, and we suffered for that.
Trump says in his State of the Union address this week, which is like a king's speech, but with a suit and no crown, though Donny Boy probably wouldn't mind a crown, he says, quote, "Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever."
President Trump touted.
Trump has just finished probably one of the most important phone calls he's going to have in a very long time.
The Cuban forces just got into a
Well, although police are stressing this.
Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles, particularly short-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States and our bases in the region and our partners in the region. And all of our bases in the UAE, in Qatar, in Bahrain. And they also possess naval assets that threaten shipping and try to threaten the U.S. Navy. So I want everybody to understand that, and beyond just the nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons.
American general.
So right now, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Russians are now reportedly being killed faster.
President Trump just gave his longest ever speech to Congress during the State of the Union address, and he made a lot of claims. Let's talk through 3 of them in 90 seconds. First, he said this about people crossing the border.
In the past 9 months,
In the last 48 hours, sitting in Gibraltar at the southern tip of Spain, a man was able to take a photo. Click. This is an American aircraft carrier, a floating piece of sovereignty, freedom, and democracy and love for oil in the form of a hulking ship gliding through the sea. The USS Gerald Ford sailed past Spain in the north and Morocco in the south into the Mediterranean, from which it can now sail across, down through the Suez Canal, I assume, into the Red Sea, and eventually make ways to the Gulf or Sea of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz to look extra threatening next to the USS Abraham Lincoln, who's also there. The two floaty boys can be like, are we floaty? Are we menacing? Are you scared yet? Are you scared? It's the 21st of February 2026. War has not broken out yet between Iran and the United States, with Israel sort of in the background, like looking over Trump's shoulder occasionally. Reuters, though, says US officials told them that the US military planning on Iran had reached an advanced stage, with options including targeting individuals as part of an attack and even an option to pursue leadership change in Iran, regime change, if ordered by Trump. So this basically means the US military have told Donny Boy, sir, we're ready.
These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
Something about what Iran's Supreme.
Quick World War III update.
Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles.
America now has more military power in the Middle East than it did when it invaded Iraq in 2003. And it's not subtle. Today, the United States has 2 aircraft carrier strike groups positioned near Iran. The USS Abraham Lincoln, already in the Arabian Sea, and the USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest and most advanced carrier in the world, now joining it after being diverted from the Caribbean. This marks one of the biggest U.S. naval buildups in the region in decades. That means at least 13 warships, including these 2 carriers, destroyers, and support vessels, are under CENTCOM command, backed by fighter jets and surveillance aircraft to pressure Tehran. In the air, the U.S. has deployed over 120 aircraft, AWACS, refueling tankers, F-35s, F-15, and others, from bases.
I don't
know who has possession of the...
We are looking down the barrel of another rate hike. And
Mr. Speaker!
Big ugly windmills, they ruin your neighborhood.
President Trump's been
Trey, what's the latest on the ground?
The scene is set for...
Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored.
An Iranian army helicopter.
We begin tonight with that breaking news. Sky News can now bring you, for the first time, emails that have been found in the Epstein files.
Australian activists are accusing Thai Airways of transporting the Garda
11F.
Under his leadership...
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show.
New NPR invest. All charges have been
Mexico's most powerful drug king.
Donald Trump គឺត្រូវបានគេប៉ុនប៉ងធ្វើឃាតម្ដងទៀតនៅថ្ងៃទី
Streets